Friday night is where the story usually begins. Not in a bank. Not inside some perfect investing plan. Not with a spreadsheet open and a confident version of you making smart decisions. It begins on a normal Friday night, when you are tired, hungry, and slightly disappointed with the week. Your phone is in your hand, your thumb is already moving. Food app, shopping app, gas, a small order. A little comfort. Nothing crazy, nothing irresponsible enough to feel guilty about, just $100. The kind of money that does not look dangerous while you are spending it. That is the problem. Big mistakes scare you. Small leaks do not. A $2,000 mistake gets your attention. A $100 weekend does not. It slips out quietly. It leaves no story behind, no assets, no memory strong enough to matter. No future version of you saying thank you. By Monday, it is gone. And you do what you always do. You move on. Because life is expensive. Because the week was hard. Because you deserve something. Because $100 was never going to change your life anyway. That last sentence is the trap. Because the money did not need to change your life today. It only needed to stop disappearing. But nobody teaches you to respect small money. People talk about wealth like it starts when the amount becomes impressive. When the raise comes. When the bonus lands. When the debt is gone. When life finally becomes easier. So you keep waiting for a number that feels big enough to begin with. And while you wait, the small money keeps leaving. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Week after week. Month after month. A dinner here. A delivery there. A few things bought because your mood needed help. And none of it feels like failure. That is why it is so hard to catch. Because most financial damage does not arrive looking like disaster. It arrives looking normal. It arrives as comfort, convenience, a little reward, a little escape. And before you know it, your present has trained itself to consume everything before your future can touch anything. So tonight, something feels different. Not because you suddenly became disciplined. Not because you woke up as some financial genius. You are still tired. You still want the food. You still want the easy choice. But for once, you pause. You look at the $100 differently. Not as leftover money. Not spending money. Not as something too small to matter. You look at it like a test. And the test is simple. Can your future receive anything before your present spends everything? That question does not feel motivational. It feels uncomfortable. Because deep down, you know the real problem was never only income. It was accessible. Every dollar that touched your account became available to the version of you who was tired, stressed, bored, or trying to feel better for 10 minutes. And that version of you had been making financial decisions for years. So you do something small, almost too small. You open the investing app. You do not search for the perfect stock. You do not try to become the smartest person in the market. You choose a simple broad market fund. Nothing exciting. Nothing you can brag about. Nothing that makes you feel like you found a secret door to wealth. Just a basic place where money can stay long enough to have a chance. You enter $100. Your finger hovers for a second. And in that second, all the excuses return. This month is already tight. You can start next month. You should wait until you have more. You should learn more first. You should be more prepared. But preparation has been your excuse before. Waiting has been your excuse before. And somehow, every time you waited for the perfect moment, the money still disappeared. So you stop negotiating. You confirm the transfer. And then the room stays exactly the same. No music. No emotional breakthrough. No feeling of becoming wealthy. Your phone does not glow differently. Your life does not instantly respect you. You are still sitting there in the same room, with the same bills, the same worries, and the same ordinary income. Only one thing has changed. For the first time, the $100 did not obey your mood. It crossed a line. It moved away from your present and into your future. And at first, it looks almost stupid. The account shows a tiny balance. Then the market moves. A few cents disappear, maybe more. You look at the screen and feel that little embarrassment people feel when they try to do something serious, and the result looks childish. This is wealth? This tiny number? This quiet little transfer? This thing no one can see? Part of you wants to laugh. Part of you wants to undo it. Because at least spending the $100 would have given you something tonight. A meal, a package, a small escape. Investing it gives you almost nothing today. And that is exactly why it matters. Because for once, you made a decision that did not need to entertain you immediately. For once. Money left your hand without becoming a momentary comfort. For once, the future got paid first. Not with a huge amount. Not with life-changing money. With $100. A small amount. A boring amount. An amount most people disrespect until they realize that disrespecting small money is exactly how large futures never get built. Tonight, nothing impressive has happened. No one knows. No one claps. No one would even understand why this tiny decision feels heavier than it should. But something has started. Not in the market. In you. Because the first investment is not really into a fund, it is in the belief that your future deserves proof before your life becomes perfect. And now the $100 is gone from your spending life. But this time, it did not vanish. It stayed somewhere. Quiet, small, unimpressive, but finally protected. The first month passes. Then the second. Then the third. And the strangest part is how ordinary it all feels. You expected resistance. You expected a dramatic inner battle. You expected investing to feel like stepping into some new version of your life. But mostly, it feels like nothing. The transfer happens quietly. The money leaves before you can argue with it. The account grows a little. Then it falls a little. Then sit there like it is waiting for you to become patient enough to understand it. After a few months, the balance is not impressive. It is not a number you send to a friend. It is not a number that changes your rent, your job, your car, or your stress. It just exists. A small balance inside an app, and this is where the real danger begins. Not fear, not a market crash, not some complicated financial mistake. Boredom. Boredom is more dangerous than most people think. Because boredom does not feel like danger. It feels reasonable. It whispers, this is not doing anything. It says, maybe pause for 1 month. It says, you can start again when things feel better. And the scariest part is that it sounds mature. Because there is always a reason. A bill comes early. A friend invites you somewhere. A family need appears. Your phone needs repair. Your mood needs comfort. Life gives you 100 little reasons to take back the money before your future can use it. And for a moment, pausing does not feel like quitting. It feels responsible. That is how habits disappear. Not with a dramatic failure. Not with one big decision to give up. They disappear quietly. One missed transfer. 1 month of "I'll restart next time." One app you stop checking. One promise that becomes easier to ignore because no one else knew you made it. But this time, you do not let the decision depend on how inspired you feel. You leave the transfer active, even when it annoys you, especially when it annoys you. Because this is the part where you learn something most people never learn. Discipline is not the feeling that makes the transfer happen. Discipline is what remains when the feeling is gone. The account still looks small, but something inside you is starting to change. You are no longer asking the money to entertain you. You are no longer treating progress like it must prove itself every week. You are beginning to understand that quiet progress is still progress. And that is the first real separation between a person who starts and a person who continues. Starting feels good for a moment. Continuing feels boring for a long time. But the boring part is where the future is built. 1 year passes. 12 transfers. 12 small decisions that nobody saw. 12 moments where the money could have gone somewhere easier, faster, more satisfying. The account balance is still not dramatic. It is not the kind of number that makes you feel rich. It is not the kind of number that changes your identity in public. But something important has happened. Your life survived. That sounds small until you understand what it means. Before you started, that $100 felt impossible to spare. It felt already claimed. It felt like removing it from your month would create a problem somewhere else. But now you have tested that fear 12 times, and 12 times, life adjusted. You still paid your bills. You still ate. You still handled problems. You still had difficult days and normal days and expensive days. But the $100 did not destroy your life when it stopped being available for spending. That is the lesson year 1 teaches you. Not that investing makes you rich quickly. Not that the market rewards you every month. Not that small money suddenly becomes magical. The lesson is that your fear was louder than the truth. You thought the money was essential because your present wanted access to it. But essential and familiar are not the same thing. Some spending feels necessary only because you have never challenged it. Some habits feel permanent only because you have never interrupted them. And now, for the first time, you have proof. You can live without consuming everything that reaches you. That proof is more valuable than the return. Because money habits do not change when you read something smart. They change when you collect evidence about yourself. And this year gave you evidence. You are not someone who only thinks about investing anymore. You are someone who has already invested. You are not someone waiting for perfect timing. You are someone who started while life was still imperfect. That matters. Because goals are easy to admire from a distance. Systems are harder. Systems ask you to repeat the decision when the excitement is gone. Systems ask you to become reliable before the results become visible. And year 1 is where reliability begins. You look at the account, and part of you still wishes the number was bigger. That is normal. But another part of you understands something deeper now. The balance is not only money. It is evidence. Evidence that you kept a promise to a future version of yourself that could not thank you yet. At some point, the market stops being polite. It does not ask whether you are ready. It does not wait until your confidence is strong. It simply moves. And one day, you open the app, and the number is lower than it was before. Not because you spent anything, not because you failed, Not because you chose wrong. It is lower, because that is what markets do. They breathe, they fall, they recover. They tested the people who thought they were patient. And suddenly, investing no longer feels like an idea. It feels personal, because that red number is attached to your choices. You skipped dinners, your quiet transfers, your effort, your future. You thought you were building something. And now the screen is telling you that part of it disappeared. This is where many people learn they did not want to invest. They wanted a straight line. They wanted growth without discomfort. They wanted reward without uncertainty. And nobody blames them for that. Losing money on a screen feels stupid, even when you understand the logic. Even when you know market drops are normal. Even when you have heard 100 times that long-term investors should stay calm. It still feels different when the money is yours. For a moment, your mind starts bargaining. Maybe pause the transfer. Maybe wait until things settle. Maybe restart when the market looks safer. But safety has a strange way of arriving late. By the time everything feels safe again, the opportunity has often already moved. So instead of stopping, you do the thing that feels emotionally wrong. You send the next $100. Not because you are fearless. Not because you enjoy watching the account fall. But because the system was never built for perfect months only. It was built for real life. Good months, bad months, confusing months. Months when the chart does not care about your feelings. And something changes when you keep going through the drop. You stop seeing red as a personal insult. You start seeing it as part of the road. You do not need to like it. You only need to stop letting it control your hand. Because anyone can invest when the account is rising. The real investor is revealed when the account falls and the transfer still happens. That moment does not look impressive from the outside. But inside you, something important hardens. Not coldness, not arrogance, conviction. The kind that does not need the market to comfort you every week. A few years pass, not in a dramatic montage, not in a way that feels cinematic while you are living it. They pass like normal years pass. Bills, work, family, unexpected expenses, good months, tired months. Months when you forget the account exists until the transfer notification arrives. And then one day, you check. Not obsessively, not with panic, just casually. And the number is different. Still not freedom. Still not retirement. Still not the kind of money that makes people treat you differently. But it is no longer nothing. It has weight now. It has shape. It is something that exists. Because you kept making a decision most people would have abandoned while it still looked pointless. That is the first proof, not the final proof. Not the big reveal. The first proof. The proof that small money becomes visible when it stops being interrupted. The proof that ordinary income can build something if it is given a job before it becomes entertainment. The proof that the future does not need a miracle from you. It needs a system you stop betraying. This is where your relationship with money begins to change. You still spend. You still enjoy life. You still buy things you want. But the difference is structure. Before, spending happened first and the future got whatever was left. Now the future receives something before the month starts negotiating. That one change begins to affect everything. You notice waste faster. You question purchases differently. Not because you are cheap, because you finally understand the difference between money that gives you a moment and money that gives you options. A moment can be worth it. Sometimes the dinner is worth it. Sometimes the trip is worth it. Sometimes the purchase improves your life. But now you can tell the difference. You are no longer spending blindly just because the money is available. That is growth most people cannot see. From the outside, your life looks almost the same. Same job, same room, same phone, same ordinary routines. But under the surface, a quiet boundary has formed. The $100 is no longer begging for permission every month. It has become protected. And protected money behaves differently from leftover money. Leftover money disappears. Protected money compounds. That is why the account matters. Not because the number is huge, because it proves a new rule exists in your life. A rule your old habits no longer get to vote on. For a long time, it feels like you are doing all the work. You earn the money. You protect the transfer. You ignore the temptation. You sit through the boring months. You sit through the red months. You keep showing up. And for years, the account mostly reflects your effort. But then, the gap begins. Quietly at first. The amount you put in and the amount the account is worth are no longer standing close together. There is space between them now. And that space did not come from your paycheck. It did not come from overtime. It did not come from a side hustle. It came from time doing what time does when you stop interrupting it. This is when compounding stops sounding like a finance word. It becomes personal. Because now you can see money showing up that you did not personally deposit. Not huge money at first, but real money. Money that appeared because the earlier money stayed long enough to begin working. That feeling is different from earning. Earning is direct. You trade hours, energy, attention, stress, and sometimes your health. Then money arrives. But compounding is quieter. It does not ask you to clock in. It does not need you to answer emails. It does not care whether you felt motivated that week. It rewards the fact that the money remained invested. And once you feel that, your view of money changes again. You start to understand that income is only one part of the story. Ownership is the other. The $100 transfer was never just about saving. It was about turning a tiny piece of your income into something that could outlive the month. Something that could keep working after your attention moved somewhere else. That is why time becomes powerful. Not because time is kind. Time is not kind to people who keep waiting. Time only helps what is already planted. If you give it nothing, it returns nothing. If you give it a little and protect it long enough, it can begin to surprise you. And now, the surprise has started. The account grows some months by more than you expected. Not always, not smoothly. But enough for you to notice. Enough for you to realize the old version of you would have spent the same money and had nothing left but receipts. Instead, you have an asset. Small, maybe. Imperfect, yes, but real. And real assets change how you walk through life. Not loudly, quietly. You know something is being built even when nobody else can see it. Years later, the account has become too large to ignore. Not because it makes you rich overnight. Not because it solves every problem. But because it changes the way problems feel. That is what a foundation does. It does not remove life. It gives you ground under your feet when life moves. A car repair does not feel like the end of the world. A job problem does not feel like immediate panic. A family emergency still hurts, but it does not automatically destroy your finances. You begin to understand that money is not only about buying things, money is also an emotional distance. Distance between you and desperation. Distance between a bad week and a ruined month. Distance between one mistake and total collapse. And this distance was not created by one heroic decision. It was created by repetition. The same small transfer, again and again and again. Over time, the account becomes a record of the version of you who kept going when there was no applause. Every contribution is a receipt, not for money spent, for discipline kept. You look back and realize how many versions of yourself had to cooperate to build this. The tired version, the tempted version, the worried version, the bored version, the version who wanted to pause, the version who opened the app during a market drop and felt stupid, the version who kept going anyway. All of them had chances to break the chain, but enough of them protected it. That is why the balance now feels different. It is not just a number. It is a memory of consistency. And by this point, the growth can become larger than the contribution itself in good years. That is the strange reward of patience. At the beginning, the $100 did all the visible work. Later, time does more. You are still contributing. You are still responsible. But you are no longer carrying the whole weight alone. The account has momentum, and momentum is something most people never reach. Because they quit while everything still looks small. They stop before the invisible years become visible. They stop before the boring part has time to turn into evidence. They stop because they think the early number is the final verdict. But you stayed long enough to learn the truth. The early number was not the verdict. It was the beginning of a delayed result. And delayed results are usually the ones people mistake for luck. 40 years later, nobody sees the beginning. They do not see the Friday night when the $100 almost disappeared. They do not see the first transfer that felt too small to respect. They do not see the months where nothing happened. They do not see the boredom. They do not see the red screen. They do not see the temptation to pause. They only see the result. And results are dangerous because they make discipline look easy. People see the final number and create a story that protects their ego. They say you must have earned more. You must have gotten lucky. You must have started at the perfect time. You must have known something they did not. But the truth is much less dramatic. You started with a small amount. You repeated it. You protected it. You gave time something to work with. That is all. And somehow, that simple thing is what most people never do. Because most people are not waiting for a better investment. They are waiting for a version of life where starting feels easy. More income. Less pressure. More confidence. A cleaner plan. A perfect month. But perfect months are rare, and even when more money comes, the habit of waiting often comes with it. A person who disrespects $100 can also disrespect $1,000. A person who lets every dollar become available to impulse will usually expand the impulse when income expands. That is why the amount is not the real issue. The behavior is. The first $100 was never powerful because of its size. It was powerful because it interrupted a pattern. It proved that your present did not have unlimited authority over your future. It proved that small money could be assigned a serious job. It proved that you did not need to feel ready to begin acting ready. And over decades, that proof became a result. Not overnight, not cleanly. Not without doubt, but quietly, month after month, year after year, until the decision became invisible. That is the most powerful kind of financial progress. The kind that stops feeling like effort because it has become part of who you are. And when people call the result luck, you will understand why. From the outside, they only see the final balance. From the inside, you remember every ordinary month that built it. You remember the first $100. You remember how small it looked. You remember how easy it would have been to spend. And you understand the lesson most people learn too late. Small money is not small when it is repeated with discipline. Waiting is not harmless when it steals time. And the future does not need you to be rich before you respect it. It needs one decision protected long enough to become a life.